find this so frustrating sometimes. Sorry about that, guys. I'll reshare the link. Sometimes I don't know why, but it says I'm doing different audio, or if you're commenting inappropriate things, that prevents a live from going on. So if you could refrain from doing that, that would be pretty good. Because there's no to be commenting silly things. The more you do that, the more likely that my channel is going to be, or the stuff on my channel is going to be taken down, which really in the long run doesn't help you. Right, now that that's shared, I'm going to carry on. We are in the middle of World War II. So we have something then that forms as a direct result of the French and UK struggling. We have the USA, the UK, and the USSR, which to me and you is Soviet Russia. So there we go. In 1941, in the middle of World War II, we have the formation of the Grand Alliance. Now, this is different to the big three, obviously, because we've got the three U's involved instead of France. And it is different. It's called the Grand Alliance rather than the big three. Now, your textbook is really quite naughty in that it does specifically say that this is the big three. That is incorrect. The big three are in your Germany course. The Grand Alliance are in your Cold War course. So, 1941, we've got the formation of the Grand Alliance. Things are not going well. We then, have issues. I say issues. We then have conferences that happen, and we're going to learn about those in more detail. Don't worry. We're going to break each of those conferences down and look at those together. But by 1943, the Grand Alliance needs to do something. And they have one main aim in this particular conference. Da-da-da! There it is. So in 1943, they have the Tehran Conference, and the main aim of this conference is how are the Grand Alliance going to get together and Hitler has got all of his forces kind of directed at Russia at this point. He sort of start to drift away from the West, and Stalin needs a second front opening. But I'm not going to go into too much detail with that because, like I said, we're going to break these down. This then means that we are now 2 years out of the Second World War. So we're still not quite in this. Here we go. We're not quite in the Cold War yet, but this is kind of the beginnings of it, and it all stems from World War II. So just like Hitler's rise to power was from World War I, the Cold War comes out of World War II. The final, let's go for red. Bit of our Grand Alliance that we're just going to look at very, very briefly. So, let me just pull that down a little bit so you can see it. So by 1945, then we have two more conferences at Yalta and at Potsdam. Now, the main aim of these is to end World War II. They've still got this common enemy in the Nazis, and that is why things are all hunky-dory at this point. Things are going well. The USA, the UK, and the USSR are agreeing to do one thing, which is defeat the Nazis, and they're willing to work together at this point. All right. But things then quite quickly change after they've got this common enemy of the Nazis has gone. All right. Once that's gone, then, well, really, they're going to start to disagree. And this is where we have the fundamental differences between capitalism and communism. And this is where things start to wire and where we then go from one war to another. But you are probably thinking, well, what is a Cold War? You're talking about the Cold War myths like it's a concept that we have heard of, when it's actually nothing we've really heard of. Well, we're going to look through that today. So on your first slide of your work, you will notice there is a cartoon. What I'd like you to do is, bearing in mind with read what is going on in that cartoon. The questions that I've asked you to with that cartoon are not trick questions. They are straightforward questions. They are questions that you are going to be able to answer from just looking at that cartoon with what it says, what it looks like, and such the like. So the more you think about it, as in like going really quite deep into it, and the more you think about it in like a deep thinking scenario, the less likely you are gonna get it. So it's very straightforward. You literally do what you do on Catchphrase, say what you see. We then, once we've looked at that, we're going to look into what actually a Cold War is, now that I've eventually got my board clean, because I don't know. So what actually is a Cold War? What defines being a Cold War? I hear you ask. Yeah, I'm sure you do. So quite simply, features of a Cold War are things like, just gonna write them down. God, I miss my classroom and my board. Corona, go away. Clearly, my dogs are playing downstairs because I can hear my sister going and tugging and banging on the door, on the floor, and shouting. Yep. Here we go. I can got this down for you now. So what is a Cold War? Now, a Cold War is effectively a war without a war. All right. I know that sounds double Dutch, but you'll see what I mean. So these are the features of a Cold War. You've got this kind of whole thing about spying, this thing about like, okay, right, how can we get information on another, whether that's via like planes, whether that's having propaganda, so using films, media, kind of like what the Nazis did, but against a different country. Okay, and it's all about having propaganda of saying why the other country or the other idea is wrong. An arms race and a space race, so that race to get the most nuclear weapons, a race to get into space first, and having this kind of competition of weapons, of materials, to see who could get there first. You've got loans and aid. Loans, so different bits of money, giving loans and different financial help to countries in exchange for their support. And finally, a war of words. A little bit like what's going on with Donald Trump and China at the moment. That whole different countries' leaders talking to each other and bashing each other, saying that we're the best, you're the worst, this is why. And having a real, excuse me, and having a disagreement with via words. Can I just say, the chat box is not okay at the moment. If you are not meant to be here, you just stumbled across it, could you please leave? Otherwise, I'm just trying to teach my class. Ridiculous. So, we've got those features of a Cold War then. Now, the main reason for this Cold War, for this war of words, for this spying, for this propaganda, is your two different ideas, your two different ways of thinking. Now, we live in a society that's free, I would say, where the rich can get richer, people can move from different social classes. So if you are what we would call technically, the rich are at the top and the poor are at the bottom. And there is a kind of not a survival of the fittest, that's not the right term, but it's definitely a you get what you put into society effectively. You get out what you put in. So if you get put in a lot, you get out a lot. That's kind of the way it works. So am I going to be able to get all of this in and you be able to see it? Probably not. So I'll just do one at a time. Now, last week I got you to have a little look at the different ideologies and got you to do a poster, which most of you didn't submit. So please get those into me. Now, looking at those ideologies, they are the core, they are the basis of our whole study. They are what we are basing our Cold War on. Why do America and Russia go into this Cold War? It's all based on this this idea that it's communism versus capitalism. Now, communism. There we go. Now, the idea of, we'll start with capitalism. I think I said communism, but we're going to start with capitalism. So the idea of capitalism is you can have, there's my blue pen gone. This will do. I don't know, I know one. Fine. Is you've got this idea that capitalism kind of looks like this. Please excuse my writing, I'm writing upside down. So you've got this idea then that the rich are at the top, the poor are at the bottom. Capitalism also allows people to own their own private business. Oh, wow, that's one of my words. Here we go. Let's do it this way. This is not ideal, but there we go. We'll go with it. You've got this idea of private businesses. You've got profits being made. People are allowed to have to keep what they earn, and it's a case of you kind of put that tax in, that profits. You've got wages. You're allowed to own them. There's no real government control, so there's no gov control. Okay, you are allowed to make those decisions yourself. It is totally down to you and the decisions that you make, the profits that you get, and that then leads to kind of how successful your business is. Whereas with communism, this is quite annoying, this pen. I will not be bringing these pens back with me to school. There we go. So then, let's have a look at communism. Let's bring that one a little bit more forward so that you can see it. Communism is a little bit more straightforward, I would say, is that you've got the idea, oh girl. Are really these kind of two major things. Is you've got the idea of everybody is equal. So no one can get rich, no one can really be poor. Everybody has the same amount of wages. There's a lot of government control of the economy, of business. So if you have your own business, it's controlled by the government. It's nothing really to do with you. You don't keep the profits. It's more about how much control the government can have. Now, what I'd like you to do is, using the clip that I've put into Teams and the clip that and the images that I've put on your slideshow, as well as the work that you did for me last week, you will then be able to complete slide 8. Now, slide 8 is talking about the different things of communism and capitalism. And all I want you to do is color code them. Now, what's great about PowerPoint or online is that you don't have to print it off. You can just color code the different boxes using the fill tool. And there is a key at the bottom, or you can change the border. I don't mind how you do it, but there are the two distinct features of capitalism and communism. Then silliness is ridiculous. So I want you to look at those two features, so you've got a real idea of what capitalism and communism looks like. Then on slide 9, the last thing that you want to do, because remember most of the slides are information slides, is there are 6 different words: ideology, Cold War, capitalism, communism, expansion, and domino theory. Those are words that are extremely important in this course. So you should know what a Cold War means. So if we look at Cold War together, that is looking at, here we go, where is it? Yeah, the name given to a situation between the East and West, which lasted from 1945 to the 1990s. It's that idea of there's no real war. An ideology is like a set of beliefs, okay, a way that you, or what you believe. So if you are religious, that's your ideology. If you are maybe if you are a strict conservative politician, you would have that ideology. Hello, Fletcher. And are you coming? Come on then. Fletcher's coming in for the last part of our Cold War lesson. So you've then got that, it's that set of beliefs, that idea that you believe in. That's an ideology, okay? Then communism and capitalism, you've got that. We've talked about that. You should know those and find the definition. Domino theory. Thing about dominoes, when you stack them up all together, you flick one and the rest then fall, don't they? You're going to go? Okay, bye then. You can't sit there. Thanks, Fletcher. Now, the last thing, you've got expansion. I think that's self-explanatory. What happens when something expands? So those are the key words. I want you to match them up. I've labelled them 1 to 6 and then A, B, C, and D. So you can either put it in the little notes of the PowerPoint, or you can colour code them. I don't mind. But it's, again, thinking about these different terminologies. I am going to be here until about 5 o'clock in terms of on Teams. If you need any help, give me a shout. Could you please make sure that you submit either Show My Homework, Teams, or emailing me? You know my email. It's on all of the different forums. I'm not going to hand that out on YouTube. Otherwise, I will leave this video up and linked into Teams. If you need anything, give me a shout, and hopefully I'll see you soon. See you on Thursday for your next live lesson. Bye.